The election's over and settled, but I think there's still something to be gained from looking back and trying to see why it turned out the way it did. These are the top 10 reasons why Hillary Clinton lost. Number 10. Lack of charisma. Okay, this is pretty low on the list because I don't think that Trump's very charismatic either, but while Trump at least has a sort of oily, slimy salesman charisma that some people go for, Hillary had none whatsoever. A more charismatic nominee would probably have fared better for the Democrats. Number 9. Hillary's health problems. I put this low on the list because when it came time for election day, people had really stopped talking about it. But being seen falling over like a corpse can't be good for an election. Number 8. Russian hacking and disinformation. Okay, so before you really jump on me for this, keep in mind that this is number 8 in the top 10 list. So I'm not saying that this was the huge only thing that made her lose. But I think it's worth talking about, especially since the FBI, the CIA, and 15 other separate government intelligence agencies have said that they probably did have some involvement. And really think about what it would take for all this to be false. These 17 separate organizations would have had to have gotten together and said, you know what's a good idea? Let's make this up whole cloth to insult our new boss and probably hurt our career by doing so. Which doesn't seem to add up to me. And a lot of reputable newspapers have reported that not only did they expose some truthful things, but they were also involved in disinformation campaigns to discredit Hillary Clinton. And I think this probably did have at least some effect on the election results. Number 7. Social justice warriors. Sometime in the last decade, a large chunk of liberals decided that white men, heterosexuals, and cisgenders were the enemy. And if you were a straight white man, you were pretty much evil incarnate. And unfortunately, these people were the main, or at least the most vocal, opposition to Trump. I could go on and on about this, but I think I'll let the clips speak for themselves.
You're fucking a white male! So? You're a white man!
Can you see now how these people probably helped out Trump more than hurt him? With enemies like this, who needs friends? The emails / Comey's handling of the emails. Okay, let's start off with a disclaimer that Hillary should have handled her emails better. I don't think anyone can deny that. However, her predecessors and her successor, Secretary of State, did the exact same thing, and apparently it wasn't a big deal when they did it. Even Donald Trump flat out admitted that the emails weren't really a big deal and that he was just using it as a campaign ploy.
Forget it. That plays great before the election. Nah, we don't care, right?
The issue had mostly died down until FBI Director James Comey released a statement saying that they found emails which might incriminate Hillary Clinton. So in this vague statement that he released, this vague statement that he released basically added new logs to the flame of this controversy. And then before that statement, polls had Hillary over 5 points ahead and she was gaining momentum. But as soon as the statement came out, her lead went into a nosedive. And then 9 days later, they found out, lo and behold, there was nothing to those accusations. And the emails really didn't have much to do with the investigation. So, in an almost unprecedented move for the FBI, Comey erroneously insinuated Hillary Clinton's guilt before even seeing the evidence. And from even a glance at the polls, it seems clear this had an effect on the election. Number 5. The Electoral College. This one is pretty self-evident. She won the popular vote by the largest margin of anyone who lost the presidency, and by the largest ratio since the 19th century. That was only because there were 3 parties at the time. An article in the Washington Post, linked in the description, displays how arbitrary the Electoral College can really be, by showing that if only 2 state borders had been drawn slightly differently, Hillary Clinton would have won the election. Number 4. Lack of attention to poor whites in the Rust Belt. The area which most surprised people on election night was the Rust Belt, which, at least in terms of electoral votes, went overwhelmingly to Trump. While Hillary was taking those states for granted, Trump was out there promising to bring them desperately needed jobs. And going back to my point on social justice warriors, they played a large part in making poor whites feel like they had no place in the Democratic Party. In retrospect, this really shouldn't have been a surprise, because even if Trump was offering false hope, which you could argue, he was offering hope to these people, which Hillary Clinton didn't seem to have any interest in. Number 3. People graded Trump on a curve. What do I mean by this? Well, I think people held Hillary Clinton to a far higher standard than Donald Trump. If Trump had mishandled some emails, do you think anyone would have cared? I don't think that. What makes you say that? It fucking happened. Anyway, I think people judged Trump as a reality TV star and Clinton as a presidential candidate. I heard a lot of people say, at least Trump doesn't talk like just another politician. But the logic of that doesn't really make any sense to me. You wouldn't use that logic with any other profession. No one would ever say, this person who's going to do my heart surgery doesn't sound like they know what they're doing. But at least they don't sound like another surgeon. Number 2, no vision. This election cycle, people wanted a bold vision of change for the future of our country. Donald Trump undeniably had that. You may not like his vision, but he had one. Clinton? She had platforms, but she never really sold a clear vision for the U.S. What she offered was the status quo with, at most, minor reforms, which isn't something a lot of people could get excited for. Which leads me to number 1. Number 1, lack of enthusiasm in her party. A quick look at the polls will show that Trump didn't win by growing the Republican base. In fact, he received less votes than McCain or Romney. Trump won because Hillary Clinton couldn't keep the enthusiasm which Obama brought to the party. Obama ran on a message of hope. Hers was a message of the status quo. This contrast was made especially glaring in contrast to her primary opponent, Bernie Sanders. And like many Democrats, I wanted Bernie Sanders to win the primaries. While Bernie Sanders himself was able to get behind Hillary Clinton during the generals, a lot of his supporters were too bitter from the primaries to support her. Even though Bernie Sanders ran a clean campaign and mainly stayed away from smearing her, after seeing a true liberal democratic socialist like him, the thought of voting for a centrist, maybe even center-right candidate like Clinton was just unappealing. When a presidential candidate is unable to fill even a small gymnasium, you know they've got a problem. Okay, that was my top 10 reasons why Hillary Clinton lost this election. If there are any reasons that you think should not have been on the list, or any that I missed, please tell me in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe, and have a good day. Cuttlefish out.